folks. So welcome. So this is now week 4, because we missed last week. So this is now week 4 out of 5. Next week is Easter Monday. So the final class, week 5, will be in 2 weeks. I'll say that to you a number of times in a number of ways. Don't worry, I'll remind you. We're still working with this idea of flow. So I don't want it to be something really kind of like, oh, I don't get that, I don't know what it means, or I can never find flow. It's always a little bit hard work running anyway. Even if you start thinking about how can I move with greater ease, softness, fluidity, that's kind of where we're aiming at. So what we're doing this week is trying to just undo some of the things we create through either sitting a lot or running a lot. So let's get on with that. So a few slightly different moves. So I hope you can follow me. I'll do my best. So we're going to come down onto our belly. And initially, you can have your legs straight, just so you arrive like that. And we'll bend them in a little while. But if you can just kind of arrive, and it's harder to relax the head and the neck and the throat, but just do your best. If you need to look one direction or the other, rather than looking down with the forehead on the hands, then do what's comfortable for the neck. Okay, bringing the legs close together. So I often say hip distance, just bring them close together, as close as you can, and take the right, bend the right leg and take the heel more towards the bum. Won't go that far, but you kind of go in that direction, and then take that leg back down to the ground and just swap over. So take the left heel now towards the bum. So feel like a stretch on the quads on the front of the thigh and return it. So this time, take both heels towards the bum and bring them back down, as long as that feels okay for the back. Yes, if the back's uncomfortable, don't take them too far. Repeat it, so taking the right heel towards the butt and back down, taking the left heel towards your butt and back down. Taking both heels towards the butt and back down. And just rest there, let the belly kind of swell a little bit, so kind of natural plus. So you can relax the back a little bit more here. So this is an option. You can do what we've just done, or if you want to, you can reach back with your right hand towards the right ankle and bring the right heel closer into your butt. Yeah, and if that's not really nice for the knee, don't do it. And then gently release and turn to the other side. So I'm just getting my right hand around my right ankle and bringing the right heel towards a butt. That one's actually made it. Generally it doesn't. Okay, so each side, right and left, and then have a break again. Bringing the legs close together again. If they've drifted apart, bring both, bend both knees, both legs, so that the sole of the feet come more towards your bum, more towards the sky, stroke over towards your bum, and then just take your knees, your legs, like windscreen wipers, one direction, then the other direction. So you kind of roll off one thigh and then roll off the other thigh as you just get a little bit more space in your lower back, perhaps, if that's safe to twist the lower back. Just rock from side to side. It's a bit clunky, but just see what you can do. You might be able to go over a little bit further, or not. You might be able to touch the floor or not. There's a bigger movement then. And then back into releasing the legs. So just relax the legs down. Breathe again, maybe a bit slightly deeper breath to relax the belly again, relax the back. So bending the right leg and so the foot towards the sky, and then do ankle movement. So it's not doing the whole of the lower leg, it's just doing ankle movement. So just like you're kind of stirring with your toes and your foot in one direction. And see how that feels in the ankle. If it really doesn't feel good, then obviously don't do it. But if it feels okay, to just loosen a little bit. What I quite like about it is it feels like it's getting into the back of my calves a little bit, Achilles tendon, and just kind of giving that little bit of a little bit of a massage, I suppose. Then go in the other direction with your toes and your foot to just get a little bit more of that movement in the ankle and up through both the front of the leg and the back of the leg. And then pause that and then go to what we would normally do, which is these circular movements from the knee. So we actually let the whole of the lower leg do that circuit, gets a little bit more into the knee, gets into the hip, starts to also give us a little bit of massage maybe in the back of the thighs. So it might be a small circle, might be a big circle. And then rotate to the other direction. Do a bigger breath at any point. Let the out breath out through the mouth, maybe just to release a little bit of tension. And then let that leg rest. And opposite knee bend. Start with the ankle movements. Doing these little sort of stirring with the toes. So it gets into the ankle, loosening the ankle, and working on the muscles, tendons, above the ankle into the calf. Can be quick movements or slower movements if that feels better. And then opposite direction with the ankle movement. Letting out the out breath. And then turning that into the lower leg, doing the circuits. So you get into the knee, into the hip, into the butt, to the lower back a little bit. If you get the circuits going. So we're just spiraling and winding, loosening from the day's activities or inactivities, on the weekend's activities or inactivities. Opposite direction if you haven't changed already. Spiraling, circling. Okay. And release that leg again behind you. So we're going to move into kind of, most of you know this, but I'll try and explain. It's kind of, I sometimes call it the climber. So I'm coming up onto my forearms, but I'm keeping chest low. So just coming up, so the chest's off the floor, but the belly might be partly on the floor still. So I'm looking over my right shoulder and I'm bringing my right knee up. And then I push back with that right leg and look over the left shoulder and bring the left knee up towards me. So I'm just swapping sides, getting a little bit of an external rotation. Up to you how far you bring the knee up, how far you kind of look behind you. So a couple more each side. Quite an open movement after all that. Kind of slightly feeling of maybe harshness on the lower back for some of us. So next time you're equal, you've done both sides. Take the elbows below the shoulders so that you can raise a little bit more the chest away from the ground. So it's a sphinx position. Belly comes in to take the lower back. And just a little bit of both pushing down with the forearms and feel like you're pulling the forearms. In fact, there is a little bit of a movement or motion towards bringing the elbows in, the lower arms coming towards you. That gives you a bit more of a lift, back of the neck's long. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to be coming out of this. So just take the elbows wide, take the hands by the side of your chest and come up. And for a moment, this is everybody's joy, for the moment, if you can get the tops of your feet down, and come to sit towards your heels. So if you're only comfortable for a moment, come up. If you need something behind the knees because the knees are unhappy, then ideally would be like a blanket or a towel there. If you can sit down for a moment, just bring the belly in to protect the lower back, let the shoulders relax, the neck relax after it's kind of been in a position where it might be not ideal. So again, you can just stay here, or if you want to go into the second movement, you take your hands behind you, so kind of just behind your toes. I'm on my fingers there, and I'm just bringing my pelvis forward. Yeah, so it's kind of a little bit like a kneeling version of bridge. So pelvis forward, bum's engaged, thighs are engaged. I bring my chin to my chest is usually the safest. We have to get ourselves back down, so get your bum back down. Take your hands in front of your knees and just come up onto tucking your toes under and sitting back for a moment. So again, sometimes the other one was okay, but this one isn't. Some people it's the other way around. So again, you can come out of this at any point. Just breathing. Yeah, well done. Well done. Okay, so let's come out of that and just let the toes get the blood back. So just give them a wriggle. We're not going to go back. It's good news. Doing lots of things, but not for too long. So I'm going to come on to my block now of support if you need it. If you don't need it or you're not sure you haven't got it, I'm sure you'll manage. Okay, so I'm sitting with my legs crossed just for a moment, just see how that feels. In terms of being able to feel like you still can create a long spine and feel comfortable without slouching. Okay, staying on the block, I'm just going to bring my feet now to the ground. I'm going to take them quite wide. Yeah, so widen the shoulder distance, so I can bring one knee in towards the opposite heel and then come up and take the opposite knee in towards the heel. Yeah, so you might start falling off your block if you're on a block. Just keep reorganizing yourself so you can get back on. And so again, that might be quite a nice stretch down the side body. I quite like this, I have to say. Okay. So we're going to go back to cross legs. I just need to sort something out on the screen. Won't be a moment. She's disappearing in terms of the light. Okay, thank you. So I've got my legs crossed lightly. And I'm going to pick one of my legs up, the ankle up, and give my foot a shake. Little shake. So sometimes nothing happens, yeah. But if you can waggle your foot like a dog's tail waggles, for example, just see if it'll go. So we've also got our hands on our calf, so we're giving that a little bit of a massage indirectly. Okay, I know it's really weird, but I like it. And then we're going to swap legs. So find your other ankle and give that another shake. Wonderful. Back to first side, not shaking. Just take your hands, take your fingers and put them around your toes and just take your toes forward and back, forward and back. Yeah, so I've got my other arm underneath my knee, so I can kind of get at it easier. But there's other options, I'm sure. So again, sometimes the toes are really happy doing this, and sometimes I really don't want to, or one's kind of a bit stickier than the other. Just trying to get a little bit more flexibility there. And then we're going to swap over and find our other foot. And see how that one is. So sometimes you find it really different. My left foot is much more flexible than my right. My toes are just generally just happier toes than my right side. And I don't really quite know why that is. So, and then we're back to crossing the legs. So that, here. So we're doing a bit of massage on the calves. So what I'm suggesting is you take your thumb and you press. So I've got my shin bone here, just between the, just at the edge of the shin, working up to the knee. Yeah. So however you find it. So you start wherever you can get access with the thumb pressing in underneath the shin slightly. So you're kind of right on that edge. And for some people, they won't feel anything. I can feel a little something. So I've got tender spots. So working, pressing in that kind of until I get to a point where actually I'm getting to my knee and I can't. So then I go back down and work my way back up. So it's kind of a pressure and release, a pressure and release. A little bit like a pinch, because it's almost going underneath that shin bone, which you can't avoid. So one more time if you want to, if you feel like it's just, I mean, you're in control. That's the beauty of it, really, in that you can decide whether there's a tender area and you want to give it a go, more of a push, or you want to hold back. Okay, so that's first side. See how it feels. It might feel a bit kind of awake. And then go to the opposite leg. So a little bit of pressure, finding that kind of shin bone, and then give a little bit of pressure as you work your way up between the shin and just found a lovely soft bit that was fighting. Yeah. But even though I haven't done much running, although I don't have it today, surprising how tight it comes. Okay, so about 3 journeys. Okay, and then once you've done your 3 journeys, release. So this one's even more bizarre, really. Choosing your elbow from, it's kind of, as you're looking at your leg, it's kind of like mid inner thigh. So you press your elbow in a little bit, and then again, you just work your way up your thigh. So it's kind of the edge of your quad, really. So you get to a point where you feel safe, so you don't want to get into the groin, and then you go back. Just give a little bit of pressure. So I've got a soft fist rather than a hard fist. So you usually find places that are more interesting than others. Some of you won't feel anything, I expect. You're lucky people. And there'll be other bits that feel really hard and kind of like unavailable for release. Okay. Probably 3, so great. Have a break for a moment, and then if you can cope with the second side, a little bit of pressure through the elbow into the thigh. Sometimes rollers are quite harsh and you're out of control, and there's places you can't get to anyway. So I quite like this version. So 3 goes. Unless you go down the course as usual. And relax and release. Okay, so option of a twist. So feel like you're pressing through to the floor or pressing through to whatever your support is. And then I'm going to take my right hand to my left knee and take my opposite hand just behind me. And I'm just going to gently look over my shoulder, keep the belly kind of sucked in a little bit, and keep the crown of the head long. So you just unwind yourself. So you might find you've got a bit more space, or you might find no, I'm at the maximum. And then gently unwind and release. And do the opposite side. If you don't want to do this, you can just extend your arms above your head. That feels safer for the back. You can put a bit of pressure on your knee in order to get yourself around a bit further, if that's what you want to do at this time of evening, depending if you've eaten. And coming back to center. Okay, we had a good ring out there. So we're going to come off the block and onto all fours. So get that out of the way. Okay. So bringing the knees together and letting the hips drop from side to side. So we're not going to the floor, but we're just giving an option to release the hips away and down each side. And again, you might find one side is really easy and the other side is tight. But kind of IT bandish. It's not a major thing there, but it does a little bit of work to release side from the hip down towards the knee. Okay, next time you're backing in neutral, keep the knees together and we're figure of eighting. So I think we all know that. Take your bum and the semicircle, head towards the opposite hand. And then at some point you realise you broadly, as you're doing this sort of snake motion, that you're doing a figure of eight, drawing a figure of eight with your nose or your belly. Whichever makes sense for your imagination. So enjoy that loosening. And then swing your bum in the other direction. Okay. Pause. So we're going to be going up into downward dog if you wish to, and we're going to do it in a really gentle way if we can. So I'm going to take my hands a little bit further forward than my shoulders. I'm going to tuck my toes under. So before we do that, what we're going to do, actually I need to turn around because I haven't got the space. You might be able to see me better anyway. So from here, we're just going to take the bum back, reach back, so we get that length. So the belly goes in, the bum goes back towards the heels, the arms are long, the forehead is kind of heading towards the ground but doesn't, the back of the neck is long. Could you take the bum back even further? Is there more scope for you to do that? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, so that's kind of imitating what we would be doing with the legs extended or partly extended. However, for now, just take both of your hands over to the right so you can get a length down your left side. So bum still goes back, but it's in the air or towards the ankle. So you're just getting a length down one side as we lengthen and get that stretch, breathing into that kind of stretchy side. And then come back into center, pause for a moment, and then take the hands in the opposite direction. So you can get length down the opposite side, all the way from the armpits, down through to the hip, breathing into that stretch side, lengthen side. And then come back into your center. Okay, so as usual, we're going to rock forward, so we're bringing the shoulders just above the wrists, and then we take the bum back towards the knee. We'll just see how that goes to start off with. And then from there, at some point, you're going to take a really minimal knee lift. So as you go back, just take your knee up, both knees off the floor, and then bring them back down. Let the shoulders come back to the wrists, and then take your bum back. Come forward with shoulders over wrists. Next time you go up, we're going to take the knees a little higher, and then bring them back, knees back down, shoulders over wrists, bum to heels, shoulders over wrists. This time we're going up a little bit further, almost into downward dog, and then coming down, shoulders over wrists, bum over heels. So this time you'll be going up and staying up. So come forward, then go back, take the knees off the floor. Keep the legs as bent as you feel you need them. Start to just do a little bit of walking dog. So one heel down, then the other heel down, one knee forward, then the other knee forward. See how that feels. It feels in the calf and the back of the legs. Okay, so we're going to come down again. So coming down, both knees come to the ground, shoulders over wrists for a second, then bum behind you. Okay, so we're going to go up again and just do some different movements. So when you're ready, forward and back a few times. Knees are hip distance for the moment. Then come up with the knees, okay, and push back, getting the heels more towards the ground, belly in. Okay, bring one knee towards the nose and then take the knee behind you. Knee to nose, knee behind you, or foot to the sky, that'll make it easiest. So third time, bring the foot back down and second leg, so knee to nose and then knee goes behind you, so the foot goes towards the sky 3 times. Done. Foot comes down, knees come down, shoulders over wrist for a second, then bum behind you 3 more times. If you can keep going up 1 more time, that's what we're going to do. So on this next time, come up if you can. This time, you're going to bring your knee to your nose. You're going to take your leg behind you and then open the knee out. So it's external rotation, knee heads up towards the sky. Get that opening. Bring the knee back down, bring the foot back down. Opposite side, knee to nose. Again, knee behind you, and then opening that open phase. You open the hips. And back down. Come down onto your knees. We're not going up again. Rock, foot rock, bum back a few times. Great, and then pause, find your block for a second, and just put yourself back on the block. Have the legs crossed. See how you feel on your bum. See how you feel in your back. So taking the fingers just in front of you, just having the journey, so the fingers just start coming forward. So basically you're coming over your legs a little bit. And then find your way back. So fingers, one hand and the other hand, kind of work the way back. I'm sorry, I know you can't see that, which doesn't necessarily help too much. Come back to sitting. Take both arms up above your head. And then just allow yourself to sway in the wind. Imagine the wind. That's been a windy day earlier on. It's gone really still now. Yay, it's almost kind of worth a song here, but I just can't think of one. I can't sing, so it's 2 points with that. Okay, and then bring the fingertips to the ground, relax the shoulders for a moment. One arm up and over. A little bit more active again. So we're just going to repeat that. And rest. I think we've done both sides equally. Okay, folks, so we've ended sitting, so you can enjoy the rest of the evening. The light is still with us, so thank you for messing around with me. And I'll be back in 2 weeks' time for the final one of this flow series. Thank you very much. Enjoy whatever you're doing in time.